Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whatever time you might be watching this video, thank you so much for tuning in. And this is an odd one from an automotive enthusiast. However, I keep on getting asked, Rob, what's going on with the house? Why have you been so quiet? Where have you been? Are you coming back to YouTube? It's only been a couple of weeks, and I'm really sorry it's been quiet on giving you really exciting stuff on cars. However, this is my life at the moment. So welcome to my 1960s bungalow converted into a dorm. I think it was actually done at the start when they were first built. However, we have got 4 months to convert this place from what is a rather dated, should we call it a period property? Should we be polite? A period property into something that is actually modern, livable, has electrics that work properly, central heating that works properly, and I want to open plan it as well. So the reason we've only got 4 months to do this is because my good lady has a bun in the oven. That bun in the oven is due to be released in March, so I'm going to get it on this quite quickly, and my flat's sold. We've got to get out of it. So we are now well over halfway through the project, and we have got way more than half the stuff left to do. So I'm going to show you what we've done from start to finish. So thank you for joining me. A little bit of a voiceover. I'm currently sat in my pyjamas on my sofa in the flat editing this video. I hope you enjoy it, give you something of a little bit of an insight as to what's going on in the background in Robbie's life. So we started off with the rip out, which is always the most exciting stuff. And first of all, what we had to do is get rid of some of that wallpaper. The entire property was covered in wood chip wallpaper, and it was absolutely horrific to get off. So massive shout out to Callum. He got well stuck in with this. My patience is not the greatest, and I really struggled with this. So Callum was on with stripping some of the wallpaper. I dived into the kitchen to get rid of this horrific kitchen hood that had been in there for I don't even know how many years and was just absolutely filled with grease. This thing was so well built. Everything in this, oh, that's my excellent hammer work. Not very good, Rob. Everything in this place was really well built, which is great and reassuring, but when you're trying to rip it out, not so good. Absolutely rank. This is Matt. Randomly, I bought a 911 off Matt, and then he bought a Merc off me, and then I sold him a Jag, then I sold a Touareg, then we've done some bike deals. So Matt has become a mate through selling him cars. Matt is a plumber and really wanted to get involved on this, so massive shout out to him as well. He's there ripping tiles out. All of these tiles on this wall. In fact, we've actually done a soundbite for you here. Watch this. So we've got a bit of an issue in the bathroom with the tile situation. Plumber's holding the camera. Obviously, I've done all of this myself. Yeah. This is what a tile should come off like. Yeah? Is that a good job?
Very good job.
Unfortunately, actually went quite well.
That is
the best one we've had.
suffice to say.
Problem.
Big problem.
981. So there's a slight nod there to the fact that this bathroom was put in 40 years ago. And look at all this stuff. I mean, it couldn't be more perfect for a car dealer. I managed to find these old adverts for E-Types and Astras and all sorts of stuff back from the 80s. Cars were so much cheaper then. Anyway, we popped back downstairs to see how Callum's getting on, and he's managed to make the front room look like a crack den. So rather pleased with that, Callum. This took ages, and I mean, this feels like so long ago, but it really wasn't that long ago at all. But we've done that much in the house so far. But the stripping of the wallpaper was probably the worst possible task we could have started with. There's a squirrel. And for some bizarre reason, even though we were taking these walls out, I decided that I desperately needed to get rid of whatever this was. So everything has been put in with the most ridiculous fixings, etc. I mean, this is how things used to be made. And to be fair, it's quite sad to pull it out, but the wall was going anyway, so out it came. Hello! The final time. Oh! In one would be nice. Yes! Oh!
Results.
Yeah, I'm starting to quite like this critter. So more ripping out on the next stage with the fireplace was absolutely ghastly. Now this used to be a gas fireplace. The gas had already been tapped off, so it was literally just a case of ripping it all apart. And I'm trying to make it look, it was easy. I'd already loosened that, to be fair. This is the big lintel coming out, or sort of lintel, it kind of looked like it. So yeah, fireplace out, and then we were back on tiles again. And this time we're back in the kitchen taking off tiles that I was desperately trying to save for moving forwards. So I'm trying to get these tiles off in the kitchen because they are Beautiful.
Agreed.
Beautiful. Look at these. See, they don't make stuff like that. I'm thinking it'd be really nice to have that like around the oven or something like that. So I'm trying to get them off bit by bit. And as you can see, it's a thankless task. Because each one is in different bloody ways. Some are all right. It's already gone as that, I think. Is it? And someone's going to dive on the comments and tell me there's an easy way of doing it, but it's too late because by the time you watch this will have been stripped.
Also, finished 50% of the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm not doing most of it anyway, so. Oh, I'm hoping to get a good one. For the... That's it?
Yeah.
I'm going to get this one.
Just the one.
Got to be a quid there, isn't there? So we're hoping. I've been told that this is a wooden beam. And I think that look quite cool if it is a wooden beam. Because these are wooden beams. Apparently the whole framework of the house is wooden.
Yeah, that's it. Get through that bit.
Wood. That's going to look nice, that. That's going to look nice, that. I'm glad that's wood. Not as big as I thought, though.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be like...
Yeah, probably.
It'll be like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That still look alright, won't it?
Yeah.
Will it?
Yep.
Kind of want
Get
to
it
go
all
all
off.
the way around it now. It's quite nice.
There you go. Wouldn't be. Happy.
I think I'm happy.
So it's too late now. So happy. Right.
You hanging out of that window wearing a black hat, ripping the alarm off the wall, doesn't look suspect at all, mate. So we were going to put a bifold on the back of the house, and in order to put a bifold on the back of the house, we had to get rid of this horrific glass that was impossible to get out. And of course, there's only one way of doing that in my mind, which is to throw a brick through it. We're just going for it. I'm going to go with a rugby pass.
Don't go right through the front window as well.
That's a good point. Don't need a lot, is it?
Could you have picked a bigger brick?
It's out, I think it's out. Might have cracked it. Born ready. As you can probably tell, it was all fun and games at this stage because the actual mammothedness, if that's a word, of the task had not yet dawned on me. So here we are, Matt again. This is Matt. You can see his head now, the second brick thrower. He's cutting through this. It was basically welded to the side of the house. I don't even know how they put this in. So it took a while, but we managed to get it out, and there it is. Bosh. Ripped out, just had the top panes to come out, and then we are nearly open plan. Unfortunately, you can see the conservatory dropped down a little bit. That was going to cause us massive problems later down the line, which I'll show you in a moment. However, before we do that, I decided to invest in this. Now, this is Skylink. It's not a plug at all. Elon hasn't written to me. However, I've been on the phone. That's Fozzie, my mate Fozzie. He does aerials and stuff like that. He's a really decent bloke to know. Knows that'll charge, though. Cheers, Foz. Anyway, there he is putting it up. Now, I looked at trying to get the internet at this place, and it is absolutely shocking. Even the person at BT said, oh, the internet's pretty rubbish there. So I decided, even though it was going to be expensive, it was really important to make sure I had good internet here. So I decided to get Skylink in. It's about £70 a month. But when you're working from home, that is important. Very, very big moment here. This is when we're putting the acros in, because that wall, which is between the kitchen and the dining room, is the first to come out. So this is where it all starts to get really messy. Now, as much as I wanted to do this myself, I left it to the professionals. When I say professionals, that's my builder. There he is, Neil. I'll tell you all about Neil another time. Neil follows us on YouTube. He's a really sound bloke. I've known him years. and he's come along to help out. And the guy that's hitting my wall with a sledgehammer, that's Ducky. Ducky works with Neil, and he kind of does all the hard stuff while Neil scratches his head and forgets to bring stuff on site. But that's a story for another day. This is a bit of a monumentous moment for me because I could finally see what the open space was going to look like, at least between these two rooms. However, we then had to take out the next wall as well. That's Neil trying to look manly. What he does, he likes me to take videos of him and then he can send it to his friends on Snapchat. He's nearly 40. Neil, sort it out, mate. You're nearly 40. Anyway, joking. Final wall coming out here, and then it's moving on to the wall between the dining room and the living room. Now, he's had to make a cut here, and I think it's because he wanted to look manly again, but I think the other reason potentially because he needed to get a perfect edge on there, otherwise going to pull the edge of that wall out. So I've never seen a room filled with dust so quickly in my life, and I totally forgot I left my walking boots in there, and I think they're now ruined forever. However, he managed to get through it. Perfect. And there we have it. We're officially open plan. Ignore the fact that Neil did all the work. It's all my hard work and ideas. He's firing up his still saw, which is from the 1920s. This was a mistake, so I decided that I wanted a patio door in there, and then after he'd taken the wall out, I decided I didn't want a patio door in there anymore. So there's so many mistakes I made along the way. However, the main thing is we're open plan, we're cracking on. Now this takes me back actually, because as you can see, it's quite dark outside here. This is when Neil was first starting the job, and what he liked to do at this point was finish at some point after 2 o'clock. Anyway, the story for another day. You can see he's decided, that's a lie, I decided that I wanted to have the steel up in the ceiling, that's his bottom, and the only way to do that is to cut through the ceiling joists and then bolt the joists onto the steel and put the steel on the pad stones, etc, etc. There's Callum that's looking rather sketchy beneath the steel. Anyway, we tried to put this steel in the night before. That's Ducky's belly, and that's Ducky's face. Is he going to spot me? Hey, Ducky. So we tried to do the steel the night before, and it just wasn't happening at all. We were trying to do it, in a very, very sketchy position. I was stood in a wheelbarrow full of broken bottles. Don't ask, it's a long story. This is Neil being weird. There he is, and we've got a steel in.
What you've got to do is when Rob starts filming, just say lots of sexual stuff. You can't post it.
So this is another stupid moment. So we put the strong boys in there to hold the wall up above the steel before the steel went in. And as a result of putting the strong boy in first before the steel, which you had to do anyway, we couldn't get it back out because these pipes ran across. So we had to shut all the water down to cut the pipes off to get the strong boy out. And that's Callum, who is thoroughly enjoying this job. Look at his little face. I think it has to be said, when you've got a cement mixer on the go in your living room, you've hit a new low. Anyway, we realised that the floor in the conservatory was about 2 inches lower than the floor that's in the living room. And in order to get everything levelled up, we obviously need to do a concrete pour. So this went well initially, other than the fact that Neil was trying to pour concrete on Callum's head. Bless him. However, unfortunately, Neil disappeared halfway through the process, taking his laser level with him, and in turn we ended up overfilling it with concrete and then had to go and rent out a grinder. So this is a floor grinder. Now we needed to use it on the red bricks anyway because they kind of protruded where the old wall was, and then we had to run all the way across the old concrete to try and get it level again, which was a really tedious task. But nevertheless, we managed to get it sorted. Now, if you remember this wall that we took out here, there's an identical one at the front of the house. So that's Phil, he's up there just starting to remove this. It was a really weird space to have it, so you lost a couple of foot of house out the front. Now, I can see why no one up the road would have moved it, because it takes so long to do, but we decided we'd build a new retaining wall on the outside and rip that out. As you can see, the conservatory roof has come off. This is when the walls come out and Callum's just starting to backfill it there. So we decided we're going to concrete it out, put a single skin on, and then we're going to add some insulation onto that side as well. Fireplace has been ripped out and the roof has come off the conservatory. Now the reason for this is because we decided, again, not part of the plan, not part of the budget, but what we're going to do is put a flat roof on the conservatory. So, as you can see, that's now been cemented up there. It gave us a load more space in the living room and we've not had to go for planning because it's all within the roof line. Speaking of roofs, Neil, there he is, he's now starting to build the flat roof on the conservatory. This is a bit of a weird idea, but it just made sense to do it now. We were never going to do it at a later date. So again, this has just got totally out of hand. It starts to get a little bit stressful here. However, you can see when you look from the back of the house now, the way that has added so much more space into that room. Look, you've probably gained a foot at the back there. Going to do some bifolds, floor to ceiling there. It should bring in loads and loads of natural light. Oh, can you see why I've been quiet? I mean, this has just got so... And the amount of wood that's gone into that roof, so expensive. And they're still on with grinding there in the background. At this point, I'm starting to get excited because you can see the roof is now on, so you get a bit of an idea as to what that room's going to look like. The back wall has now been built up. We put loads of insulation in there, I think 150 mil. Decided we're going to block that door up where the orange wall is. Don't ask, it'll all make sense a little bit later. And then we've managed to remove all of the old plaster off the wall. It's like an inch thick in places, which should have gained us a little bit more space. Granted, we're going to have to replaster it and skim it again. This is probably the lowest point in the house because it just looks a complete mess. However, it is progress. Right, Neil's now cutting through the roof that I've just spent a load of money on because we've decided we're going to put a skylight in here. We've gone for 1 metre by 2 metres. You can get them bigger, but it just starts to get really, really expensive. I've managed to get a good deal on this, I think, anyway. It's going to be triple glazed and it should be, you know, fairly warm, I think. Oh, and you know what it is? It's stuff like this that I just think, I know it's expensive and genuinely, it feels like there has been some sort... You know when you go for a really bad takeaway in a night and you have a bad stomach in the morning? That feels like what my bank account is doing at the moment because the evacuation of funds out of my account, I've never seen anything like it. And truthfully, I'm starting to worry a little bit about the cost of this, but I'm sort of in now and I can't stop and you've just got to keep going and everything was more and more expensive. So he's cut the roof out there and kicked it down, which I'm probably going to use as firewood at some point, and we move on to the next step. So the next step was getting the steel in. Now fair play to the lads, they've got them in, and at this point what we've had to do is go and fireboard all round the steels that have been put in because we've had building regulations out. Yes, we have actually done the job properly. So building regs have been out. They've signed it off, to be fair, which I'm pleased about, and expected no less from Neil because as much as I do rip him, he's very good at what he does. So, yeah, a bit of credit there where credit's due. So they've signed it off and we're good to go. And we are now on what I think is the most exciting part, and that is getting the plasterers in. I think this highlights the level of stress on the sides at the moment. This is Neil's pooch. Even the dog has started smoking and nicked his cigarettes. Ran away across the garden, bless her. I absolutely love this shot. This is Callum's dad working hard and knowing what he's doing. And this, on the other hand, is Callum. Finally, we are getting plaster on the wall here. So here they are. The lads have turned up. They're just on upstairs with one of the bedrooms and they have absolutely rifled through this house. I am so, so pleased. They're on with skimming the ceiling there. Impressive work on those stills. I really don't understand how this works. Anyway, lovely lads. They've come through this company. I know the guy who owns it, really sound bloke, and they've been absolutely bang on. And he's got us into a position where my house finally looks like this. 12 weeks, I think we've been on this for now, and finally we're in a position where it's starting to look like a room at least. So obviously everything's in plaster now, or plaster, depending on who I'm speaking to. We've just got the kitchen to do, which I'm off to sign up this afternoon, so that's all been ordered. We're going to have it to like here, whereas originally it was going to go here. I was going to do the little door there, that's the reason I changed the door. Ceiling's all done. You're wondering why there's no spotlights in there. They are in there and being measured up by the Sparky, and he's coming to do his almost final fix very soon. So next job is going to be the floor, and there's been a change with that. So I was going to go with electric underfloor heating because it wasn't expensive, and then by the time I priced the job up, it was expensive. And then I got my headset on not having radiators and doing underfloor heating, so we're having wet underfloor heating put in, which isn't as expensive as you think. It sounds really posh, but you do this once, don't you? I'm so skint, mate. Literally so skint. So there's going to be a final video coming soon. However, I'm going to do a little competition, so whoever can guess to the closest 100 quid how much this build has cost from start to finish, and I'll have a number on the final video, will win one of those tiles that I very carefully took off the wall. How's that? And I'll post it out for free postage. Car stuff coming soon. My mate Joe wants to do a video on his M2. My driver who I use wants to do a video on his S-Class, which is very expensive, has made me question how much I'm paying him. So that's going to be coming to you soon. And other stuff that we've got in the pipeline that I don't want to talk about just yet. Thanks for joining me. Cheers.